Shalom, Kal Halal, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Bahashem Kakwadash, double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us his truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word, the truth and its sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David, to the Aquath that are listening and learning, being a pillar of rest, the 144,000, the hopeful elect, the 1/3, I'm the brother Yashawan, back with the World War III Daily Update. Shalom and salutations to you as well. Isaiah 13 and 17, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. All right. Behold means to look. Look, I, the Most High, will stir up the Russians against Babylon, who is the Americans. Okay, so God is going to stir up Russia against the Americans. All right. We're watching that right now. So everybody knows that it's not Ukraine fighting against Russia. Everybody, including Russia, knows that Russia is fighting directly against the United States of America. So I'm going to let Dina here, Dina Amelia Calmetta, 47 minutes ago, give you the update. War fever grips world leaders around the world, right, as in World War III, from China to North and South Korea to Russia and NATO and the Middle East, the Valley of Yehoshaphat, Israel. So, I mean, this is 18 minutes. We're not going to play it. We're not going to play the whole thing, but let's glean some information, shall we? Take it away, Dina.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's Dina Calmetta here, and for today's news, we are going to cover a lot of bases, from Russia to China, the United States, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and North Korea. But I first would like to talk about this report in regards to the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, accusing the United States of waging war on Russia. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has stated that Washington's massive campaign to support Ukraine with arms amounts to a war against Russia. In a comment to a Russian reporter released on Sunday, Lavrov suggested that rumors about Washington possibly giving the green light to the delivery of the Army tactical missile systems, which has a range of up to 300 kilometers, were aimed at shaping public opinion. According to the minister, these deliberations would not change the fact that for many years, Ukraine has been groomed to fight with its hands and bodies in order to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia. Lavrov accused the United States of
Lavrov accused the United States. Okay, so the proxy war isn't fooling anybody.
The hostilities between Kyiv and Moscow. In recent weeks, several Western media outlets have reported that the administration of Joe Biden is edging closer to approving deliveries of the ATACMs, which Ukraine has been requesting for several months. The U.S. has been reluctant to approve sending these missile systems, arguing that potential Ukrainian strikes deep into Russia could trigger a major escalation in the conflict. Ukraine has already received long-range missiles from the UK and France. While the US has yet to grant Kyiv's request, it has committed more than $43 billion in military aid to Ukraine since the conflict began, including air defense systems, armed personnel carriers, and M1 Abrams tanks. With that in mind, in a unified plea on Saturday, Republican senators pressed Joe Biden to provide the vital missile support required to bolster Ukraine's ongoing struggle against Russia. Senator Tom Cotton shared the letter on X, stating that withholding the missiles would only prolong the war and cost lives. He stated that we urge you to immediately send the MGM-140 Army Tactical Missile Systems, the ATACMs, to Ukraine, and additional delay will further undermine U.S. national security interests and extend this conflict. The Senate Armed Services Committee unanimously supported an amendment to the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act and urged the Department of Defense to consider delivering the long-range missions to Ukraine. Jen Stoltenberg has stated that the conflict in Ukraine will not end until Russia lays down its weapons. He stated that the West must prepare for a long war in Ukraine. He said that most wars last longer than expected when they first begin. Therefore, we must prepare ourselves for a long war in Ukraine. He also stated that we are wishing for a quick peace, but at the same time, we must recognize if President Putin and Russia laid down their weapons, we would have peace. The easiest way to end this war would be if Putin withdrew his troops. Now, on the possibility of Putin using nuclear weapons in Ukraine, Stoltenberg stated that Putin's nuclear rhetoric is dangerous and ruthless, but NATO is prepared for every threat and challenge. The point of NATO is to prevent a war, not least nuclear war. We have credible deterrent. Addressing the idea of a possible nuclear threat by the Russians, Stoltenberg stated that we have sent a clear message to Russia. A nuclear war cannot be won and must never happen. Moscow must understand that the use of nuclear weapons is unacceptable. We are observing very closely what the Russian army is doing. Until now, we have not noticed any changes to Russia's nuclear forces that would prompt us to react. In addition to that, it's also been reported that Poland will ban the entry of passenger cars registered in Russia. This ban at the Polish border will apply from tomorrow, which was Sunday, and comes into force at midnight tonight. Russia's registered trucks are already banned from entering Poland. This is a further element of sanctions imposed on Russia and its citizens with connection with the war in Ukraine, due to the fact that the Russian state today constitutes a threat to international security. In the meantime, it's also been reported, according to a senior foreign Russian official, that NATO military expansion in the Arctic undermines regional security and warrants countermeasures from Russia. In an interview released on Sunday, a Russian ambassador at large deplored rising tensions in the Arctic caused by what he called the unconstructive policies of the U.S. and its allies. He also said that NATO's push to embrace Finland, which has already become a full-fledged member of the alliance, and Sweden, shows that the bloc supports forceful scenarios to increase its own security in the north at the expense of the security of other countries. Against this backdrop, he warned that Moscow would respond to the challenge with a set of necessary measures, including preventative ones, taking into account the goals stated in Russia's foreign policy concept and Arctic strategy. At the same time, the diplomat signaled that Russia would continue to promote mutual trust in the polar region to support stability, cooperation, and dialogue. A Russian pilot attempted to shoot down a British spy plane over the Black Sea. The pilot wrongly believed he had permission to fire after receiving a vague command from senior officers. He fired a missile, but it failed to hit the target, an RAF surveillance plane. The RAF plane had been flying a surveillance mission in international airspace when it encountered two Russian Su-27 fighter jets. A Western defense source told the BBC that the words that the two pilots received were to the effect of, "You have the target." One interpreted this as a tacit permission to shoot, but the other did not, swearing at his wingman when he had fired the missile. Sources said that the language indicates a high degree of unprofessionalism by those involved and led to a fight between the two pilots. One reportedly launched an air-to-air missile which failed to lock to its target. He then released another missile, which fell from the wing, suggesting that the weapon either malfunctioned or the launch was aborted. The news sparked fears Russia could push NATO allies to back down in the region to avoid further escalation of the Ukrainian conflict. Yorkshire Party Deputy Chair David Hertzen warned that this came very close to being exceptionally serious. Casual commands from the Russians, mixed with pilots' everyday use of live weapons against live targets, could easily have killed up to 30 RAF personnel. Now,
just takes one mistake, right? One malfunction, and you got a Gulf of Tonkin incident.
That would have brought Article 5 into play. The easy response would be to withdraw from the area to avoid the risk of similar incidents, but that would be the wrong call. The aircraft there are doing an important job and are also entitled to be there. They cannot be allowed to be chased out by the Russians. If the Russians get the message that if hard pressed, NATO will withdraw, then they will press harder, especially when the aircraft in question are capable of actively aiding their enemy. Showing weakness invites them to continue to harass with live fire. Nor is it just the Black Sea. Russia made clear its opposition to NATO training in the Baltic. It goes on finally to report that NATO's position also needs to be made clear to Moscow. The biggest risk is uncertainty. Russia has talked tough but has generally acted with restraint when put under pressure. As long as it's known where the line is, it hasn't crossed it just yet. Now, I've been warning about this for a while now. One little mistake, miscalculation, or miscommunication can tumble us right into the arms of World War III if we're not careful.
I'm going to end it right there. That's pretty much all that needs to be said. I'm sure she goes into China and probably North Korea. So if you want to watch that, go ahead. It's that Dina, all right, today. And she's always very thorough. So, yeah, we're going to leave it right there. It's only a matter of time, okay? And this is the point right here. I mean, she said, war, okay, world war, right? China, North and South Korea, Russia, NATO, and what? Israel. Okay, this is where the Battle of Armageddon, okay, in the Middle East comes into play. All right, let's get that and we'll go ahead and close. Joel 3 and 2. All right, what does God say? Joel 3 and 2. I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Yehoshaphat. Yehoshaphat, which is Jehoshaphat, Yahweh, God's judgment. All right. And in the NLT, it says, I will gather the armies of the world into the Middle East, the valley of Jehoshaphat. There will I judge them for harming my people, my special possession for scattering my people among the nations and for dividing up my land. So this is the showdown right here. The last showdown. This is what we're waiting for. As you can see, building towards that. Everything is building towards what? The Battle of Armageddon. All right, so with that, we're going to end it right there. We hope that the elect ratified you, brothers and sisters. With that, we're going to say shalom.